Welcome to Soulful Practices Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Holling-Brooks, and over the past 20 years, I have been on a journey of healing and awakening. I'm also a coach and practitioner for clients on their journey of unbridling their true self. The number one question I'm asked is what meditation or practice will help me reach my goals? While there is no one meditation or secret mantra that will unlock our own awakening, there is a doorway that will lead us there. And that's the doorway of learning and cultivating the skills of self-reflection and contemplation. Each episode of this podcast offers you pocket teachings and practices that you can implement right away to help you courageously connect with living your authentic soul-led life. Let's dive into this week's episode. Hello, everybody. I'm Michelle Holling-Brooks, and welcome to season 4 of Soulful Practices podcast. And we are in episode 43. And this episode is part of like a little mini series within the theme of courageously connecting with our life. That is the theme for season 4. And this mini series is all about unlocking and really allowing ourselves to liberate and initiate our true innate creative nature, like allowing that spark of we are all creators. So often we take that term creators and we put it in for the elite artists or speakers or novelists or musicians. And we don't often see that it is our own life that we are curating and creating. And those sparks of inspiration come in so many different forms, whether that's creating a true new project like the Sacred Witness Oracle that fits more into that creative kind of nature more traditionally, or it is just like even in our day, what are we creating in our day that day? Where are we creating from? What are we creating with? Like, how do we really allow ourselves to liberate that so that we are living each day to its quote fullest, fully and allow ourselves to live, to lead, to love our authentic life. And part of that means that every choice that we make in our creative cycles are interwoven with both the destruction energy of endings and that spark energy of creation and beginnings. This episode is all about that fourth stage of creation, which is really about how do we help our mind, because that's the struggling point, our protective mechanisms, their survival mechanisms that really do not like the idea of endings unless it's something that we want to end, that we feel in control of, that we feel that we have chosen to release. Then we're okay to work with it. But really, all the other versions of it, our mind struggles with it. So it's helping our mind embrace that mystical law of death and rebirth, destruction and creation. So while we separate these, especially in this mini series, I've separated these into the four stages of the spark of inspiration, that engaging and being with that act of actual creation, like doing the thing, engaging it fully, allowing ourselves to take that bridle off, stop trying to limit ourselves from a fear point. And what we will start to discover is that why we don't engage in the first two steps is the second two steps, that knowing that everything is going to eventually ask us to release control, release expectations, and ultimately even release that very form, right? And that then brings us into that fourth stage, that is when we release the form of something that we love, that we wish would go on forever. Do we allow ourselves to start anew, to not just continue on the same note, but actually start to learn how to play a new song, a new style, a new way of being? Do we allow ourselves to grow and expand? And that is what this stage is about, because it just circles us back around, right? And sparks of inspiration, sparks of new ways of being. So, really being able to organically be present in any of these various stages, we really need to be willing to walk with, quote, death, the process of surrender, the process of letting go, the process of allowing ourselves to be something that we weren't even 2.5 seconds ago, right? Do we allow ourselves to fully be with that present moment? And what aspect of ourselves that moment is asking us to engage through or open to learning about ourselves, seeing a different side or a facet of ourselves that we had no idea was there and wants to come in and to grow and to strengthen and to be a part of us. And then as quickly as we love that and engage that, can we also soften our attachment to that, release it, and let ourselves step into that next moment over and over again, rinse and repeat these threshold moments throughout the day. Do we allow ourselves to shift, to let go and be in what new thing wants to come forward in that one? That's what this episode is about. We can only touch the surface because it's a podcast, but it's hopefully going to like help you explore some of those places that often get overlooked and help give you some real skills to kind of lean into these uncomfortable working edges and wade into waters that truthfully we don't really want to go into. Our mind has very savvy, very clever ways of keeping ourselves from fully engaging, so that we end up in this inner battle between our heart and our soul, like pulling, yearning for us to move, and to open to a certain way of being, and then other parts of us trying to wall that off, close it, give us if then statements. If I get this, then I'm willing to do that. If I know that this is coming, then I'll release and hop over there. If this stays beautiful and nobody lets me down and I'm safe in that space and I feel good and I don't get humiliated, then I'll jump, right? And even these other tricky ways. So I'm going to give you some of the top ways that we really can um, get lost in this stage, and then therefore, how can we liberate ourselves and break it down, right? So just feel into this topic in itself: death and rebirth, rebirth and creation, right? And feel that there is a like this inner drive, as much as we yearn to just kind of soften and surrender into that, like let ourselves quote float in that ocean, and be held by the possibilities and what wants to be. There's this other part of us that really struggles. It wants to know who, what, when, where, why, and how. It wants to try to control what is happening. It wants to hold back the quote tides of creation. I just built this, I saw this image as I was talking of a beautiful sandcastle that you spent all this time doing, and then the tide starts coming in, and it's like, let me build a moat around it, and that will work for a little bit, and then let me like put other things, trying to keep that creation where it is, but it's not meant to be there. It's meant to go in and out with those tides, right? And it was the process of building it and the satisfaction and the joy and the story of what was happening in that moment. That is what our lives are like, right? And then we aren't supposed to keep trying to reinforce it, to keep it there forever, shellac it, bring in the cement like mold of it. It's like, no, maybe we take a picture so we can get a little nostalgic with it, but can we even soften that? That was the only time. Like, we want to watch out for stories that get attached to it, right? So really truly ask yourself this question. Think of this podcast as a true like walking meditation. This particular one. Just really feel into, how do you work with this current stage? Not how do you want to work with it, not what are the spiritual dressed up versions of it, but like truly, if you feel into your everyday life, what are the ways that your system would like to show you are some of those habits in there? They might be the really fancy bypassing, like I just talked about. There's a season to everything. W- Everything keeps going. There is no ending. It's just a new thing. All these little fun, like little sayings that keep us in there. Maybe you just avoid this. Like, I'm just here and now, and whatever happens, happens, and I'm just going to stay in. But it's not a surrender. It's like you can feel it's just ever so slightly off to the edge. Maybe it's just I just have to really hear my guidance and be in the listening, and then I know that what I'm creating is going to be great, amazing, meet my expectations, fulfill my the wants, wishes, and needs and desires, and it's going to be all grace and ease. And if I do what I call that that good little spiritual soul reading enough, and I'm clean enough and I'm clear enough and I'm clear with my intentions, then whatever I create, I won't experience a negative loss feeling. I'll be ready to let go and release. Circling back around to that first one, that fancy little bypass. There are tons of other hidden ways that we really hold hostage this stage and refuse to let ourselves really release an old way of being to a new form and experience. Like, even think of one of the things that I give clients at this stage, and is I'm like, hey, I invite you to shift to brushing your teeth with your non-dominant hand. And I invite you to do that for a week. Every time you brush your teeth with your non-dominant hand. And just get curious, get like playful with it, see what happens. And every time you catch yourself, just going for habit and picking that up with your dominant hand. And I'd love to invite you to like think, pause, switch hands. And at the end of that week, kind of reflect on how many times you picked up that toothbrush with your dominant hand in that habit, even caught yourself, I'm brushing my teeth with my non-dominant hand, and then did a fun little dance that was like, or my dominant hand, and then did a fun little dance that was like, hey, it's no big deal. It's fine. I'll do it next time. I've done it enough. I've done it like 3 times. I don't need to keep doing this. It's like, what's the purpose of doing it a whole week? Like, you start walking it back. And the next thing you know, you're just back in that habit of working with that dominant hand, and totally off that, right? Or it's like 50-50 kind of in there and that. I can tell you on one hand how many clients, including myself, because I will never give something to clients that I haven't, experienced in some form or fashion, make it through a solid week without these tap dances that I'm talking about, without these ways that we are trying to really kind of hold something in an old habit, in an old way of being. Even if I know at the end of that week, I can just go back to whatever feels comfortable to me, no harm, no foul. Like, it's like that silly of an example actually is a reflection. It's like a petri dish of what we're up to all on the left. If that sounds like a fun little experiment for you, I invite you to bring that one into your own. For most of us, what we realize is that we're not willing to fully commit to the quote Phoenix experience, releasing one full form, letting it go to ash, so to speak, and then allowing ourselves to be born anew. So I'd love to show you an image, and this image is from my upcoming new. This is a creation cycle of mine of the Sacred Witness Oracle, and this is painted by my friend Kim Ganley, and it's card number 34, and it's rebirth and creation. Just take a look at that and see this beautiful phoenix energy, right? And it's coming out of that ash that's all those different colors. And we all love and long for this experience, this like rising up after we feel like our life has been taken down to ash. But so often we put what I call, like, imagine if there were these little strings all over this phoenix. Yeah, but you have to bring this with you. And yes, you have to do this. And oh, what about this fear? Like, what would this image look like? And even maybe sketch that. What would this phoenix look like if it was trying to rise from the ashes, to be in a new form? It has lived its life. It was time. It got the cue. It's time to let that go. What would that look like if it kept getting ensnared with these different little, yes, but I want to bring this with me into this new form. Yes, but what about that? Or this security fear, or this one, or I really loved this part of my life. I want to bring it with, right? And all these different ways, would this phoenix be able to look the way it does in this card? Right? And it's really calling for us to lean in as this sacred guy of this phoenix energy, of really that mythical archetypal pattern of, can you allow yourselves to 100% say to the divine, to the universe, I'm letting go. I'm surrendering this current life cycle and how it is. I am going to trust that element of fire and transformation to take down what needs to be taken down. And then I'm going to also trust that whatever returns from those ashes and comes forward, and however it repatterns itself and brings it in, that once I'm ready to spread these wings and fly, I'm going to take off and I'm going to live my life not from an extension of that other life, but from this life, this moment. Do I have skills from the other lifetimes and ways of beings and expressions? Yes, absolutely. Can I pull those forward? Absolutely. But is it supposed to come in the same way? Am I supposed to feel the same way about it? Maybe, maybe not. But if I have that expectation that I have to like bring that homage to an old way, or I can only enjoy something from this version, what we do is once we've risen from the ashes, we like weigh ourselves down and bind us and restrict than what that phoenix energy is inviting us to be into. So, just like the phoenix, we don't just have one of these moments in our lifetime. The phoenix just keeps redoing this over and over. That's part of that archetypal pattern. And there are countless numbers and versions of ourselves that this death and rebirth cycle happens over and over throughout our lifetime in big ways, right? And then in small little ways, like I said, in our everyday moment. Every breath, this is where the metaphor of breath and coming back to the breath to me is such a huge gift when we can engage breath work through this lens, not the lens of like I'm trying to like trick my nervous system and hack it and make it do something that it's obviously wired differently with, but really inviting that breath to be a partner and a co-creator with us. That we can say every time I exhale, I have an opportunity to release the grip that I had on the things that I loved, the things that I didn't so like, my opinions, my thoughts, my ways of being, my perceptions of the world. I can really exhale, let that go. They once served, that breath inside of me once served my system to the best of its ability. It's time to let it go and to then trust that that new breath coming in has with it what will support me. Yes, there might be some allergens in there, some things that I might not like or love or want to really engage with, but then do I trust my system to be able to filter that out, work with that, process that, purify that, so that I'm absorbing that which I need and releasing that which I don't, right? And so it's this really gorgeous metaphor along with the phoenix, right? That really helps us to say, how much are we willing to allow ourselves to change, to grow, and to engage that moment in time completely independent of what we think it should be, what somebody else thinks it should be, and we can soften, breathe, and open to then our heart moving us. What are we being asked to be in that moment? Who are we being asked to be? What are we being asked to create, not only within ourselves, but within our lives, so that they can extend and grow? And this phoenix cycle can happen from literally a moment to a moment. Every time we drop into a meditation, every time we keep the door open for illumination and understanding, um, and the grace of inspiration, that spark of inspiration, that fire element. I love that we're bookending this with two fire elements, right? Like when we say, I'm willing to walk with that spark of inspiration in my life, it means I truly am willing to let go of something that maybe I absolutely loved, a point of view, an idea, a belief, a way of being, a habit, whatever that is, a relationship, a connection, a career, a land, a house, like the very space that we're in, can we hold it all lightly? Can we absolutely love it, absolutely be grateful for it? Even the struggle moments, can we say that in those struggle moments are opportunities for us to rebalance ourselves, to find our power and our voice, and to move from love, to move from joy, to move from happiness, to move from that empowered place. Like all of that is there. And then if that's there, can I let it go? Right. So like all those other stages, you might be thinking, well, Michelle, of course I want to work this way. Of course I want to rise from the ashes and like have this first phoenix instead of this other one that I've doodled on my page. Like, why wouldn't I want to do that? And I'm going to say, you're right. You probably do. I'm talking to your survival system. I'm talking to your protective mechanisms. I'm talking to the parts of you that have a personal preference. which we absolutely need to know. We can't bypass these parts of us. It's part of the whole of us. So instead of trying to bypass them to say that the ego is bad, personal preferences, monkey mind, body, like is primal and bad and shouldn't be in there. Like, no, like how do we want to lovingly work with, hold those parts of us so that we can consciously then choose where we want to send our energy, what we want to create, what we want to manifest, right? And so those protective mechanisms, that's why this card actually sits in the mental being section of the Sacred Witness Oracle deck. It's not sitting in one of the other ones like you would think it might be in like the soul being or the Sacred Witness section. Like, nope, it solidly sits in the mental health being because that's where we struggle with it, right? So that's the part of you that I'm talking to. And we just want to be curious and we really want to invite it to share with us what are its true feelings. Again, we don't want to go quote Pollyanna with this. We don't want to go pie in the sky. We don't want to bypass this stage because this stage is what unlocks our ability to engage those sparks of creation. This stage unlocks our ability to fully engage with the things that are in our life right now that can bring us joy and love and excitement without that ever so slightly quote riding the emergency brake, holding ourselves out and not allowing us to fully engage in that relationship, in that joy, in that laughter. And we get stuck in the places that I had talked about earlier in this season, which is the fear of humiliation, protective, messy self-editing. We just get all shades of gunned up in there, and that's what we're hoping to start to break apart in this episode. So I have a saying that I say to all my clients, and they probably get like super annoyed with it, which is like that we need to have a healthy daily grief practice so that we can fully live life. And for most of the clients that I work with, they have a lot of quote in the mental health world or the coaching world, they might call it unresolved grief, unprocessed grief, hidden wounds, unresolved wounds, all these different things. And grief work, for whatever reason, grief and bereavement work has been separated out from mindset work, from healing work, from goal oriented work, from all these other ways that like self work, it's like it's been separated. It's been put in its own little category. And my kind of movement and push is like, absolutely, it needs to be reintegrated back in because grief work, bereavement work, and having that practice up and running on a daily basis is the only way that we can fully live our life. It is the only way that we can fully love another and be in that love, be in that connection, in that relationship, whatever type of 5 types of love that is, intimate love with a partner or something like that, friendship love, like community-based compassion and love, service love, like whatever that is, we can only engage that frequency if we're willing to walk with grief. We can only engage fully in leading our life, like feeling that guidance, hearing it, knowing it, and acting on it if we're willing to also walk with grief. Like you can't separate it out. So this episode is about putting it back in. So again, these aren't easy topics. These are waters that quite frankly we avoid. We will maybe wade in them a little bit. We'll like run as fast as we can, trying to like walk on water to get through them. We don't really want to allow ourselves to soften into them. We don't want to be submerged in them. We really just think we're going to get like sunken down like a weight all the way down to the bottom, and we're not going to be able to find our way back up, right? And that is a real fear of our mental being. Like that is a fear that weight, that water, the emotions within us will overtake us and take us down too far and squash that flame and that light. And so we need to help balance that. We need to help bring in a different perspective so that we can find that buoyancy, that place where we can move with these waters instead of getting completely like dragged down and stuck down in there, right? So step one, if you clicked on this one, just first off, give yourself a high five and be like, wow, in the book, Trauma Informed Enlightenment, which is the companion book for this one. And I have my new copy. I don't know why I don't have that with me now. But I still am holding on to like the printout that I did. Of working with it. Anyways, in this book, like, I guess maybe it's just the habit. It's the habit that we're talking about. I have the brand new, like, real copy sitting just in the other room, and look at that. Mm, yeah. Okay. So all the fun. Oh, let me just practice what I preach right now. Hold, please. Hey everyone. So, yeah, here we go. So, this is me practicing what we just talked about. Like, am I willing to pause and say, okay, that might have been the habit that I've been working from my own printed, like spiral bound copy for doing the proofs and not switching to this one because this one didn't exist in my hands before just a few days ago. And so, am I really even allowing myself to shift gears from just a habit of what was here, and so therefore that's what I'm working with, and then allowing myself to fully engage with what is here now, which this is my advanced reader's copy. It's getting released in the public on November 1st. This is my second book, Trauma Informed Enlightenment, Awakening to the Healing Power of the Sacred Witness. So excited about this book. But in this book, I have a whole chapter dedicated to this. And I opened the chapter with the statement that says, please don't skip me. This is chapter 9. There you go. Oh, there you go. And it's like, please stay with this chapter and resist the urge to skip it. Developing a willingness to walk and welcome grief is a key part of the sacred witness. Without it, the mental being can hobble the sacred witness's ability to support us fully in our healing and our growth journey. Right. So, this is a part of it. This is what we're working on. And as we gain more and more tolerance, and dare I say, the ability to welcome grief when we feel it, to let it pull up a chair and say, hello, my old friend, not in a facetious way, but in a way that really says, there's something here that I honor. There's something here that I love. There's a tenderness. And can I also now let that go? Can I meet it? Can I honor it? And at the same time, can I be willing to fully be with? And it's from that space, then I can open up to the next question, which what else is here? And when we do that, let's look at this card again. Here is this beautiful Phoenix energy. There will be something that will rise up within us to bring us that inspiration and to invite us to gather that spark, that energy of that fire element and to ride it, right? Like to be in that movement, in that dance with it. And so when this card comes forward, really in a reading, it's here to ask us to look at what are the some of the subtle ways that you can feel that there is new energy coming in. And yet at the same time, there's some part of you that's trying to stifle it, trying to control it, to restrict it. Um, yeah, pause for a moment. Yeah, so here are some of the top ways that we cycle this stage. Have you ever heard those words like, but this is what I've always done, so dot dot dot. But this is just who I am, so dot dot dot. How about these were the wishes of so and so for me to do da da da. So if I honor them and I love them, I need to be following what their wishes were. Um, I loved this aspect of my life. And so letting this go or allowing myself to move into a new quote relationship or career or whatever that's somehow dishonoring and replacing that doesn't feel right. So therefore, dot dot dot. Right. All these are themes that really just lock us in. They're protective. They are fear-based. Whether we think it's based in love, we think it's based in authenticity and compassion, but it's really saying, I don't know if I will ever be able to find this again. I don't know if I want to take that responsibility of moving from my own system. So instead, I'm going to give it to somebody else's. We have to be really, quote, savvy and compassionate with ourselves when we find these ones to really ask, what are we up to? What are the protective parts of us truly up to in these pretty statements that aren't actually really coming from that. And what you're going to find is that there are fears in there that are holding you in this proverbial like coffin that is really preventing you from letting that phoenix do what this phoenix is wanting to do. And one of the craziest things that I personally found is our like we consciously know the idea of this, but then the when our mind actually gets this, when it exhales and lets us drop through that high heart, through the throat into the heart space that has this, that this is where it moves from, this is what it does. It really takes a willingness to say, I have no idea. I truly, genuinely have no idea how this is going to work out. I don't know, that the idea to write this book was gonna produce this book. I have no idea if people are going to, I mean, I already kinda know that 345 of you, because that's our Kickstarter campaign just ended, and that's how many, came in to support us, and that's so grateful to each and every one of, our Kickstarter backers for helping us bring this into fruition. There is still time, by the way, if you're listening to this, in early, October or, late September, there is time to still join our, quote, "pre-order list," and we're gonna do that through the Kickstarter. So that way you can access those fun exclusive bonuses, plus get the discounted pre-order pricing before it goes for sale on November 1st of 2025. So if you're listening to it after that, you can still go to my website. You can do this, and also major publishers and places you can be able to engage with this book as well, and the deck and the guidebook, and get the sets and all that good stuff. But I don't know what it's going to do once it leaves my hands and goes into somebody else's. So that in itself could stop me from backing this and showing up for it and championing it and being its mouthpiece that it wants to be out into the world, and showing up and doing the workshops and the immersions that this project wants to do. And it can't do it itself because I'm the mouthpiece. I'm what channeled it, but yet it's not mine. And so am I willing to honor that voice and let it create the way it was? And am I willing to release the creation cycle of where it has been, where it was just the idea of it, where it was the pitching of it and seeing if there was a space for it to land in, creating that space, opening to it, going through the campaign and backers and bringing it. Am I willing to really now let it go into a new way of being with me from the personal side to that way that it's out there with the world? Right? All of those are different ways that really truly are questions that we don't often slow down to ask, because this to make room for this and the way that it wants me to work with the world at large, then I am going to also have to be willing to change my daily habits, to the rhythms, my schedules, my availability, putting myself out there, going back to I used to do workshops and travel and do all that good stuff. And I stopped doing it for a while I was in the act of creating. So it gave me like this little cocoon, right? That I was in as I was writing. And am I willing to open it back up and get out there and do workshops again and booking both online and in person and different places like that, making new relationships and new connections and growing as a practitioner, as a teacher, into a new space with a new body of work. And just a heads up, the next suite is already in the mix. It's the Mystic Awakening to the Mystical Heart, and bringing that one in. So am I also making space for that? As I am engaging fully with this, am I also then starting to work with that another inspiration of the third project that wants to come in and through? And how do I work with that? So it's this mix of spark, being with, engaging, allowing myself to shift, to change, to grow. And the more I'm attached to this is the way I have been, this is who I am, this is what I am, this is how I am, this is what somebody wants me to be, this is how they've asked me to be. The more attachments, the more things I have, just to go back to that image of the phoenix, those are hooks, those are all little tethers. And Teresa, since the mystic energy kind of came in here, and it's based off of Teresa's interior castle, the work that she did in there. One of the things she talks about in that book is Saint Teresa of Avila, is that if a bird is hampered by even the thinnest silk thread, it is not free. Right? So even if there's the thinnest silk thread on this phoenix, it's not free. It's bridled. And that when we undo those threads, so to speak, a lot of times the cage bird won't fly away. It won't do it. It might even not even leave the cage. And what is that about? And can we lovingly start to help us build that confidence, that belief, that freedom, that curiosity, that passion to follow that drive that says there is no door on that cage anymore? And how do we want to move and what do we want to do? Right. And that is all what we've been talking about this whole thing. So one of my niches that's kind of odd, I guess, but I absolutely love it, and I don't think it's odd. I think it's holistic. Is that I have spots in my system of client work to work with end of life clients, and I love that. I think all work is sacred on all different things, but the end of life clients really invite me into engaging this thing, which is there is still so much life that is happening. It's just in a different way, right? And how can they fully live and engage in that moment that they're in, so that, yes, they can prepare for those transitions and be working through that and doing all that good stuff. But also, how do they fully live in those moments with their mortality also in hand? And I remember that one of my clients called me at one point and was like, "Hey, I need an emergency session." And I was like, "Okay, let me work it out." We hopped on the line and I was like, "What's going on?" And she was at this retreat that she was really excited about to go on. And it was about non attachment and non dual thinking. And one of the things they were talking about is like how embracing our mortality and all these other things. And these were the things, the talking points that were in the brochure. She knew the person who was running the retreat. And so she really thought like, hey, I can just bring me as I am right now into that space. And the problem was she actually brought it, not just the thought of it, not just the idea for the mind to do this little tap dance with. She brought the physicality, the reality of death into that room. And it was just too much. So there she was wanting to be in this dialogue of non-attachment, non-dual thinking, and embracing each moment for the fullness of what it is, not worrying about the death part and not worrying about like the living, just like what am I being asked to be in this moment? And truly like engaging that with all that she had on. She brought in her exposed medical port and her beautiful bald head with her cute little beanie and her slightly ashy skin, but this light in her eye. And she brought that into the room. And it was too much. It was too much for the facilitator. It was too much for the beautiful souls that were there. And just because it's one thing to dance with the idea of this, it's another thing to connect. And that's why I brought this into season 4, because this is about courageously connecting. This is about being with these concepts, not just thinking about them. So this Phoenix and this episode and trauma informed enlightenment and the sacred witness oracle is all about, can we connect with these concepts? Can we awaken to them? Yes. Can we learn them? Can we understand them? Can we walk around them kind of with a furrowed brow and kind of kick the tires of them? But then can we get in and connect and engage and actually dance with it, right? Let it land in our bones, in our cells. And this card is asking you to do just that. Land in this place, in this space of in between, in this space of releasing of what all those protective mechanisms so that we can feel the creation cycles that are letting go, the ones that are coming in a new form. So maybe it's letting go of like this project, the Sacred Witness project is letting go of the way that it started, and embracing the way it is now. And then it might be totally letting that go and letting in the next one. So my first book, The Horse Cure, I don't have it right here. Like I still champion that and work with it, but can I make space for another one in there and working with that, right? Just take a few deep breaths in and out. I know this can be a lot, and be curious about what is there, right? And so what I offer to my client is when she went back to ask for the four and just invite people to say, this might be uncomfortable, like claim it. And that she's going to be curious about working with like l- unabashedly allowing her mortality to be with her, and that her invitation then to them, if they so want to pick it up, would be to work with that and to honor that it's bringing up their mortality about their loved ones, their life, their career. It's bringing quote death into that room, and it's bringing in, can we also embrace that the phoenix is also in that room? And can we let go of the idea that we get to control it? And can we soften into trusting that there is a divine timing and an order to when things start to release, when things start to come in, and that we don't always get to see it. An example that just popped in. I had a different one written down, so I was just pausing for a second to see if it was good. And it was like, yeah, bring it in. So just this morning when I was like picking out paddocks and going through like the routine of that morning routine, right? Like so here's what I do. This is the habit that I just go into, and it's muscle memory, like picking up my dominant hand and brushing my teeth, right? And even the way you brush your teeth, like we didn't even get into that, like going left and right or right and left or top to bottom, like swapping all that up. You really want some fun things, you could try doing that. But I was in that routine, right? And as I was walking, I just heard a stop and look down. And I stopped and I looked down, and it looked like there was like a frog, like mid hop, a little frog that was sitting there. And I was like, wow, he's really still, like mid hop. That's kind of crazy. And then I softened and I was like, I don't think you're alive anymore, buddy. And so I happened to have the pitchfork in my hand because that's what I was in the middle of doing. And I just gently kind of tapped him. I'm like, nope, not alive. But he was mid hop. There was nothing quote wrong with him or anything else like that. And it just really, as I was thinking and preparing to record this episode today, I kind of started to chuckle to myself, and I was like, oh, this is it, right? Can we just be hopping through our life, living our life in each moment, not worrying about, is this our next hop? Is this our next hop? Is this our, what is my next hop going to look like? Is it going to bring me all the things I need it to do? Is it going to answer all these questions? Is it going to bring me, all the accolades and belonging and acceptance and abundance? And like, if we let all that go and we're just focused in what we're doing, then if that shifts mid hop, are we good? And that little guy, while it was his form, his shell of his old life there, I could feel into that. As soon as I even thought that answer, it was like, yes, yes, I'm good. And I'm moving into my next form. Right. And so it was like right there was this answer, as I was prepping for that this morning. And I was like, that's kind of crazy. And then I was like, oh, I should put that in the podcast. And then I was like, no, Michelle, nobody wants to hear about a dead frog in the podcast. But apparently it did want to come in. And so I didn't find it all too much. And you are allowed to like go back and forth and talk with spirit, because I do it all the time. Again, we're not meant to not have a personal self. Otherwise, why would we have one in a holistic thing? And so again, just taking that moment, what are the ways in which we can start to invite ourselves into just being with our life as it is? And what would that feel like if we let go of even those thinnest threads of the what ifs, right? And or when we feel ourselves lassoing one of those around us, can we lovingly go up to it and be like, hey, What's up? Can we soften this a little bit? No, 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 don't touch it. We need that one there because it's going to keep us safe this way. Right. And then can we engage in a loving inquiry in the conversation with that aspect of us, understanding where's that fear come from? What part of us is that attached to? So that eventually that part itself walks up, undoes that thing and says, you know what? I'm ready to let that go because I know that my true self, my true nature is one that does believe in death and rebirth. It does believe in the phoenix, and it does believe that I'm not doing that alone, that I have these elements and these ways that are working to support me, like the air supporting that bird lifting up. You can't see it, but it's there, right? So yeah, so that just wanted to come in. And so now I'm not 100% sure where I'm at with my notes. Let me just take a moment and check it and see. Yeah, I think we're good. So take a moment and just feel it. We've covered pretty big steps. How does this concept of opening, softening, letting loss, grief, sorrow, regret, desire to have it stay, um, the fears of, oh, if I do make this change, how will that ripple out? Like opening space for this means that I've got to shut down space somewhere else, and that is going to ripple out, right? What does that look like? What does that feel like? Where can you feel in your daily life right now that there is that changing tide? That something is asking you to release the habit, the way in which you walk, so that you can hear those new sparks. You can engage something maybe a little bit more that's already there, but because of an old habit, you can't engage it. Right. So we always think that if we let go of something, it means more loss, but sometimes it means more of what we already have present that we can actually engage more of it. And so, can we even let go of that expectation of what engaging and saying yes to this stage invites in our life? And can we just be with what it is? This is a real non-attachment, non-dual in the real action of it, not the bypassy version. And just see what that feels like. I often describe this as it feels like our nervous system. We're asking our nervous system to like walk on marbles. It can't quite predict. When I put my foot here, what will it be? And so it's like gaining comfort with it. It's not trying to stop the marble from being what a marble is. It's like, how do I gain comfort and a skill set of walking on marbles? That's what we're asking our nervous system to do. Not trying to corral those marbles in with like a holder, so therefore it feels like a solid stepping stone. It's like, nope. Can we gain comfort, a skill in our nervous system of walking on water/marbles just for today? This is where I love the Reiki principles of how they're set up because they're set up on a daily basis. All of today, I choose to release fear and worry and open to trust and faith. All of today, I choose to release anger and move from love. And all of today, I choose to open to truth and honesty. All of today, I choose to walk with gratitude and blessing my life instead of cursing. All of today, I choose to walk with kindness, all living beings. It says right in there, I know that each day I have to set this intention. I'm going to strive for it. I'm not going to always hit my mark. And that's okay because I can simply exhale, say that principle again, invite myself back to that intention, and then move forward from that next one. So let's do our the practice together. Take a moment, take a nice deep breath in, out. Set that intention this week to really open to a willingness to engage to feel where I am being asked to engage my life from this moment. What wants to be created right now into the different areas of your life where something new is ready to grow and to be created? If I let go of what was, whether that be a thought, an idea, a perception, a way of being, and it could be in a physical form. Asking for Reiki energy to help guide your attention to feel into those places where it feels like you just don't fit. Like it's like a little bit of pressure, it's squeezing, it's like that shoe that doesn't fit anymore. Okay? But we want to say, no, that shoe still fits, right? Because we love it or something like that. Like, where are those places where you feel like something just doesn't fit? It doesn't click, it's not animating the same way. It's not feeding you the same way. The senses are kind of dulling. The volume is getting turned down. These are all signs that something is being asked to be released, right? And can you just write that down and just start to be aware of it without feeling like I have to do something about it? Like, again, we're releasing that push energy. I have to do something, and we're trusting the phoenix. The phoenix doesn't say, okay, at 6:45 p.m. tomorrow at 2, like it, no, it doesn't. It just says, oh, I feel now it's time to release. And it releases and it trusts that whatever form it comes back into, what it needs to work with that next cycle is there, or the capacity to learn it, to grow, to experience it, and to resource himself is also there, right? Guide your attention to ways that you can see new opportunities for growth and changes and new ways of being. Like, where are those threads? Because it's never one than the other. It's both. It's a mixing of the multiple different things happening at once, right? And so, as we're being aware of what are the places that you can feel it de-animating, so to speak, what do you feel getting ready to animate? Even if you don't quite know where it's going to go, can you let go of like, oh, if I say yes to this opportunity, that means da da da, and we do a daisy chain, like 5 years out. Like, can we let all of that go and say, I feel that this opportunity, out of these 5 opportunities I have available to me for whatever reason, this one feels like the one to go to right now. And then can we go? First choice, best choice. Can we take that and say, okay, I'm all in, committed to that one once we feel that? And then if you feel that you get that guidance, like, hey, move towards this way, let go of this, but yet some way you're not doing that. You're either not moving or you're not letting go. You're like, locked in, right? In not a healthy way. Then just get curious. Ask for that energy of curiosity to really guide your awareness to where you might have some old allegiances, old attachments to the ways that you just really love thinking about yourself, or where you really love that thing in your life. I call it the like, I love this. If I could freeze this in time, laminate it, and stick it on the wall of my life, this is it will always be a part of my life. I want to do that. And we have to honor that parts of us want that. And it's not bad, it's not wrong, it's not like a weak-minded, it's just part of us. It's a preference, and we're allowed to have a personal preference and a want. It's what we do with that preference, that's what, we wanna start to get curious about, right? So just really start to invite yourself to see is where's some nervousness, some worry, some concern, some rose-colored glasses coming in there, and then some what I like to call the fine print. I'm willing to say yes to this inspiration. If, then what is that list? Where's that coming from? It's all going to come back to fear, right? That's just where it's all going to go back to. But it's not about bypassing that fear, it's about understanding it and liberating our system from it versus just trying to say, "Oh, it's not there," but it's there. It is there, and we want it to actually unknot itself and release, not just get stronger wings so that we can just fly past it, right? So from these awarenesses, ask for Reiki energy and that support of that sacred witness energy within to really help you engage with both what is here now in this moment and what actions, what aligned actions from your heart are bubbling up in for you to engage with, to work through, to be with. That could be a new thought, an idea. It could be trying out that silly little exercise of switching to your non-dominant hand to brush your teeth and just seeing how that goes. Give yourself, if you do that, like set a, you don't have to do a whole week if that feels too cumbersome, I'm going to do this for 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, like whatever that is for the weekend. Whatever that is, to see that habit in motion and that the consciousness that it takes to break that habit and all the silly little things that our mental being does in those protective mechanisms. Can we like start to really honor that that silly little statement actually is representing a wounded part of us, a protective system, an exiled part of us? And can we lean in and see that that is that little question, that little, oh, it's not that big of a deal, just keep going, don't switch to the new one. Like, can we see that is the doorway? I love Mary O'Malley is the author and speaker and thought leader, spiritual thought leader that wrote the foreword to this book. I can't think of anybody who would have been better than her. And the title of her book that I first introduced me to her is "What's in the Way is the Way." So can we see that those thoughts, those habits, those ways in which we get stuck and get grippy, but those can really be the doorways that allow us to bring liberation so that we can, in her words, free up that which is bound up so that we can fully live, right? And engage our life in our soul. So nice deep breath in and out. I hope that this practice and this dialogue, this kind of moving meditation of a podcast, not the most super organized one, but it definitely has a thread that's in there. And it's kind of hard to be organized when you're talking about endings and beginnings all at the same time. But this practice and this card, if it's speaking to you, really engage with it this week. See what it's coming forward. And if you missed the Kickstarter campaign, like I said, if it's between September 28th, and I think when this episode airs, and November 1st, that you can pre-order it through our Kickstarter late pledges. I only have a couple of the pledges turned on for shipping purposes there, but then you can also join our waitlist from our side at Unbridled Change. And then I think even Amazon and Barnes and Noble and stuff like that, you can start to pre-order them on their sites as well as with me. And so if it's after November 1st, then check out your different ones and take a copy of the Sweet Home and let the the teachings and the wisdom and the invitations continue to work with you. Again, I'm so excited to hear how this goes of really liberating this mini series. Again, I'm grateful to each and every one of you too, also for your support of bringing the Sacred Witness Oracle forward, of helping it move through all the stages out into its quote release to you from inside my world and my inner world and out to yours. And I can't wait to see what it wants to engage with you. So offering you light, love, and joy, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Thank you for listening to Soulful Practices. For more information on how to work directly with me or one of my guests, check out the show notes below. We'd love for you to also let us know what parts of this episode are speaking to you and how this practice is supporting you on your healing and spiritual journey. Please share this podcast with fellow seekers, travelers. Together, we can create a wave of soul-led beings in this world, offering you light, love, and joy on your journey. Michelle Holling-Brooks. Until next time.